Now let's talk about the if-then statements in a little bit more detail. First, let me show you what the data set looks like. If I print it out, I've got names, genders, and some scores. Some of those scores are missing for this data set. Now, if I just want to print out the males, for example, I can use an if-then with a delete statement as I've done before, but another thing I could do is use the if statement all by itself, if gender equals M, right there in the data step. In this way, I end up with a data step that only has the male genders in it, and then when I print it out, I've only got the males. We can also use the if statement to get rid of variables that are missing. For example, if I run this piece of code, see how the original data set had a couple of missing values here? I had a couple of scores that didn't have anything in them. Well, if I use that if statement, I got rid of those two. So now all of my scores are there. So just in case you ever want to get rid of some missing variables, that if statement will do it for you. Another thing you can do with this is you can delete specific observations. For example, if your name is not equal to Mary, then I'm going to keep you in my data set. Otherwise, if your name is Mary, I'm going to get rid of you. And so we see Sam, Gary, Emily, Jim, everybody but Mary is in there. Another way of saying that is if name equals Mary, then delete. Now, one thing we want to talk about is the logic for comparing things. We've already said that this not equal to can be written with a caret and an equal to. This means not equal. You can also use a tilde along with an equal to sign. It means the same thing. Greater than and less than signs obviously mean greater than and less than, but to get a greater than or equal to, you simply type the two symbols right next to each other, and that gives us a greater than or equal to and a less than or equal to. If you want two logic statements right next to each other, for example, if the person's name was Mary or Gary, then I want to delete them. You use this vertical bar for or you can type the word or if you prefer. For an and, if you want both statements to be true, perhaps their name is Mary and they made a score of 35 or something like that, you can use the and typed out like a word, or you can use the ampersand. So then if I print these out, this is one way of just deleting both Mary and Gary. And so you see at this data set right here, I don't have any of the Marys or the Garys. Another way of doing that, if you don't want to constantly type these ors, you can have an entire list here. Say, if your name is in this entire set of parentheses, anywhere in here, then I'm going to delete you. One thing to watch out, though, is that when you have character variables, capital M-A-R-Y is different from lowercase m-a-r-y. So if the typist wasn't being very careful as to whether he or she was capitalizing all of the time, you may also want to put in the lowercase versions of these. So this is a little bit different from what we had before. And then when I run this, it's the same thing as we had before. I deleted the Marys and Garys.